Hang on. Now there should be sound.
So you've missed everything we talked about.
You've missed everything.
Well, the biscuits, for anybody that wants to know, are lemon drizzle melts by Border for the moments that matter.
See, it's on now. We fixed it. I don't know why that's done.
What else were we saying? We were saying there's always news.
Always news.
That we're not breaking any embargoes tonight because clubs are now breaking their own.
That was a strange thing, wasn't it? I don't know how Castleford managed that by sending an email out twice, 3 times, saying, embargo 1:30. We got rid of Craig Lingard, he's been sacked. And then they tweeted it.
At 1:15?
Yeah, 1:15. Do you reckon they were going to schedule a tweet and then...
Yeah.
So then all the journalists who've now written their tweets ready for 1:30 and their stories can just press go.
Send.
Gone.
It's 5 people who will replace Danny Maguire. Will replace Craig Lingard, even though we know it's Danny Maguire.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Before we get on to Danny Maguire apparently
change of ownership as well.
Yeah,
well, Castleford has a change of ownership.
Yeah. Has this guy got money? Does he own a DIY kitchen company?
Well, he's obviously. I was going to say throwing his weight about, but that wouldn't be appropriate either. He's obviously trying to make an impression.
But does he need to make an impression here? Because unlike at Wakefield, where the rights and wrongs of how Mark Applegarth was disposed of, we've been through time and time again.
Yeah.
But obviously, your man thought, Darryl Powell, he's available, he's famous, he's quite good, we'll bring him in.
But he didn't just think Darryl Powell, did he? He thought a squad for Darryl Powell to work with,
and Michael Shenton, and Danny Kerr.
Yeah, and some players for the year after when we achieve. For the gentleman at Castleford, Mr. Jepson, to make a coaching change. That's your prerogative. Now you're in charge. But what kind of ammunition are you going to give your head coach? And would Craig Lingard have got something out of that if he'd have had a better squad to work with? Well, that's why it does seem quite strange, because I thought they finished exactly where you thought they would finish. They probably got as much out of the players that they had as they could have hoped. They had a turnover of players, which was what was asked for by the previous regime. I know Craig Lingard has very magnanimously come out and said it's business. That's what happens. And certainly, if I was in charge of Bradford, because there were lots of other coaching merry-go-rounds last week, I'd be thinking, have we got him on speed dial? He's the kind of guy we need.
Have Halifax got a coach yet?
No.
Oh,
but I think Bradford is a big club.
We said all throughout last season, Castleford fans seemed accepting of the situation,
and
seemed to be happy with the way the team were playing,
and the honesty of the coach.
And then they get rid of him. It doesn't make any sense on that level, especially not if you're going to replace him with someone who has no first grade coaching experience.
And turn the job down.
12 months ago.
But the other thing is, it's a very strange time to be doing it, because until 10:30 on Wednesday morning...
Set your alarms.
Nobody knows for sure, no matter what owners may well be saying in the press, what the gradings are, and therefore who is in Super League. So Castleford may well have an indicative grading, but they still don't know what Toulouse's is. And unless their indicative grading is over 15, which would give them a grade A, which I think would be a surprise, then is it not premature to be changing your coach before you know what division you're going to be playing?
Possibly. Because if they were in the Championship...
Craig Lingard would be perfect for a team in the Championship.
So you think he'll end up at Bradford then? Or if you were Bradford, if you were
Bradford,
Nigel Wood...
Yes, I would be saying we probably didn't expect to lose Eamon O'Carroll, because that, I think, again, took them to within a point of beating Toulouse in the semi-finals of the Championship. Probably about where you would have predicted Bradford would be. A lot of talk about if they can get the lease back. Again, there's a lot of things that they can do, and there's a lot more investment that they can get if somebody knows that they're buying into something. So you would think that Bradford is now a desirable job in the Championship, a club that knows they're probably not going to have quite enough to get into Super League at the moment, but not that far away. So I would be saying we need a coach that can make sure that if it's an extra point or half a point on the gradings next year because we finish in the grand final or whatever it might be, Craig Lingard's a man, because he's been there, done it. And I think that, I don't know if the Eamon O'Carroll thing was a shock to them, but I think the way it was announced was, we'd better announce it quick before St Helens do that he's he's going there as an assistant, which
but-
hasn't been announced
No,
yet.
but St
But he
Helens,
is.
the professionals, they won't just release stuff just, without
No,
asking
but
the
it,
other
but
club.
it seemed to be that at the back end of last week there was all this, there was a chain of events. It's like Matty Smith has left St Helens. You go, really? That's a bit of a surprise. And he's gone to Wigan. Oh, and the people that used to be at St Helens are in at St Helens. And Eamon O'Carroll has gone to St Helens, and Bradford are now without. And it was almost like a chain of events that I don't think anybody predicted before it happened, which is unusual in this goldfish bowl of the game.
It's smashing nicely running into the press conference to announce they've resigned before they're sacked by Fab FM. Again, one for the teenagers. Speaking of which, the programme this week brought to you by Viking Radio. Viking Radio. Tune in on 258 metres medium wave for split frequency rugby league on Sunday afternoons. So great to have Viking Radio.
Thank you, Viking, for your backing.
Still going, are they? No.
They paid for the biscuits.
I could have put Radio Humberside up, but they still exist.
But they do exist.
They do exist. And then we might get in trouble. But so it's one of these bizarre ones, which of course we could be sat here in 12 months' time. Castleford under Danny Maguire win the grand final. We all go, what? We didn't see that one coming.
Yeah,
but,
interesting choice for Hull KR as well as to who they get to replace Brett Delaney, because rumoured that he will be joining.
and also that Danny Ward apparently is going to Sheffield. If
well,
Sheffield
denied.
Oh, has he been denied? Right.
Well, denied, but rumoured.
Yeah.
But yes, I think I don't know if it'll be this week or early next week, but the findings on the Mark Aston case should be made public. But I think the general feeling is that he won't be coach at Sheffield. So yeah, I think they would like Danny Ward. But again, the question would be, are you better as an assistant coach in the Super League in a team that's challenging, or are you better being a head coach in a championship team with part-time players and a plan on your ticking off the points on the IMG grading system, which means you're probably 3, 4, 5 years away from getting anywhere near Super League. But you need your ground to be approved for planning and all that kind of thing.
Sheffield need to get ahead of Bradford then and go on to Craig Lingard just in case.
Well, I think he now becomes one of the most sought after coaches that are there, because I think wherever he's been, he's done a fabulous job. I bet Keith will regret getting rid of him.
Keith's got a coach on the moment. Oh, it's just Jay Webster, isn't he? He's in charge.
But he
just
does.
have to
He
pretend
again
he's
has said, "I'm only holding the fort."
like he was, yeah. So Halifax need a coach. Sheffield might need a coach. Bradford need a coach. Castleford need a coach. Who else needs a coach? Is that it? No one else has been in the time we've been on and not missed any Twitter or anything.
Oh, Swinton need a coach.
Swinton need a coach. Well, yeah, because we knew that last week, didn't we? Because Alan Kilshaw fell on his sword after the defeat to Hunslet, who had their Mad Monday the other day.
Did they?
They were all in fancy dress. One of them was dressed as an Arab. Probably not the best thing to do. It might be culturally insensitive, but you do you. You do you. So that's coaching sorted.
Well, yes.
Is it? The Danny Maguire thing is an interesting one, just because is the new owner thinking I need to bring in a big name, because he is a big name,
Yes,
but he's
he
got
is.
no coaching first class
I
coaching
think
record. It's
I
a
think you
strange
can
one.
see that the job that he did as an assistant at Hull KR was part of that platform to where they are now. The job that he's done at Castleford has helped, with Craig Lingard, stabilise the club. He may well feel that a couple of years ago, when he said, "I don't feel ready yet to be a head coach," that now he does.
Yeah.
And he's been in that environment for a year, so he knows the players, he knows the what he's got to work with, the tools. I think, if Brett Delaney was to leave Hull KR and join him, he's got a very close friend there that I think they both think very similarly about how the game should be played. Delaney is really good with fitness, making sure he's not the strength and conditioning coach, but he has a philosophy about how fit you need to be to play the kind of way and defend certainly the sort of way that he wants to do. So maybe the owner is thinking we need to be seen to be taking it up a level. Maybe he knows what his grading's going to be, or has an indication, and he's already putting in insurance.
And Salford don't need a new coach because they've got a new coach in 2026 because they've got a new director of rugby.
That was the other story.
I
Which
just
again,
remembered.
Yeah, Paul Rowley's taking what was Ian Blease's job, and Kurt Haggerty is going to take what was Paul Rowley's job. But they've got another year, which again to me is proper succession planning. By which time, Danny McDonald could be playing for somebody else.
Well, mate, what I want to know is what happens to it's Christian Inn who's on the coaching staff now. He does all the press conferences for Paul. Paul really doesn't bother doing them, which is fair enough. You know,
it's a very equitable arrangement.
So what's Christian Inn doing? Does he get a new job? Is he officially the press conference person?
He must be the assistant who does the press conferences.
If Paul Rowley plays Football Manager, which one assumes he doesn't, you can get your assistant to do press conferences and stuff if you can't be bothered. So that's assuming that's what he does. He's gone into the settings and that's what he does. Is that all the coaching news? Well, we'll talk about Matty Smith now, because Joel Tompkins has gone to Catalans.
Yes.
So his role of something to do with the academy
coach has gone to
Matty Smith,
who's
so
back
he's gone to Wigan, and all the Saints fans who don't like him because he kissed the Wigan badge, doing all that. They're happy
he's going back to do the men's academy, but obviously not the women's team. So that opened up not only another assistant coach's spot at St Helens, but also their women's team.
Yeah, and now it's Craig Richards and Derek Hardman to get back
to the future.
Back. Well, they won all the things, so they can win all the things again next year. So
it'd be interesting.
Yeah, it will be. Maybe it's because Matthew Smith didn't win. Did he win? No, he didn't win. Did he win Coach of the Year?
Yes.
Yeah, people got upset because it wasn't Lindsay Anfield, wasn't it?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, it was so long ago, and even though there's a full list of award winners in the current issue of Forty20 magazine out now, and I saw it earlier, I've forgotten all about it because I wasn't there. So why would I remember these things? Oh, Eaton's back in it this month as well. I can read that.
Who does St Helens get as an assistant to replace? Well, Eamon O'Carroll. So yes, but it hasn't been. He's not going to be the women's coach.
No,
he's going to take Matty Smith's men's assistant coaching role.
Sitting next to. Well, there's still no Lauren Fresno, is he?
He's gone. But he's coaching France this week.
He's coaching France.
In fact, tomorrow.
Like how Jason Demetriou is coaching Papua New Guinea.
Which is immediately why they've improved, apparently.
Their win over Fiji, yeah. And then in McDonald, Fiji, who wants to go to. Well, we've got a PNG NRL team when they come in. He
is funny, Nelly McDonald. I mean, he's had a brilliant season with Salford. He had a really good season.
Can't keep his mouth
with Leeds the year before.
And
signs long-term contracts, and fans get really excited because he's clearly talented. He was brilliant for PNG. He made something like 227 metres and 10 line breaks. Was instrumental in their fine victory in Suva. And then did an interview afterwards saying, "Oh yeah, I'm open to coming back to the NRL." Well, what about that 3-year deal you just signed with Salford? Oh, quite like them as well.
They're all right.
But if there's anybody looking for a player,
it was great to hear Andrew Ross talking about Castleford and Doncaster and pies and all that.
Halifax,
kind of stuff.
the three pigeons.
So that was good. Steve McNichol, not replying to the programme, but in reference to what we talked about earlier with the Castleford embargo, because he's a Cats fan. They know certain journalists, in inverted commas, are breaching every embargo that they put on news stories, so made sure it came from the club first. I wonder who that is. And I was going to say, tune in tonight for reaction to breaking news, but then they tweeted it, so I could have done that anyway, but never mind. Is there a Rugby League Media D notice, says Tim, on the Robert Hicks suspension? No, we just don't know anything about it.
I don't think the case has been heard yet.
So,
but who's going to hear it? Because it will normally be heard by Robert Hicks. So, come in, sit down.
Marking his own homework.
Yes.
So we don't know.
What have you been doing? So I'll tell you in a minute.
Who's left at the RFL? I don't know. Maybe the new director of marketing.
New director of marketing and communications.
And communications.
Yes, Joe Scott.
What's communications?
Starts December the 1st. When there's very little to communicate because the season's finished.
Join us for the fixtures. So.
Hopefully.
Tim, we don't know anything.
The other thing about appointing him, and I don't know him, so good luck and all the best, and hopefully we'll maybe get an interview with him as he's in charge of communications. What's his budget going to be? Because that's the thing, isn't it?
45p and a packet of rollers. But he's come from the 100 where there was he had a seemingly an unlimited budget to do anything they wanted.
Try to engage a new audience in the sport, which is not a bad thing.
No.
Not a bad thing.
So then you got any other news? Gould have signed some people. Everyone's signing people.
I think
Leeds have got a new kit. It's black and blue. Castle have got a new kit that makes them look like Borussia Dortmund. Very impressive.
I think the news will come on Wednesday, won't it? The next big news item will be. I mean, it's been interesting looking at people that are in favour of gradings and people that are passionately against them. What is likely to happen, and we don't know anything.
No. Anyone who tells you they know what's happening
or how they've
is
calculated
lying
it,
because
nobody knows.
and the clubs find out tomorrow, Tuesday, and we find out on Wednesday because there's the gap in case the clubs
Wish
think
to
something's going wrong.
query their grading.
But I'm assuming that when the clubs find out tomorrow, they only find out their own grading, not everyone else's grading.
Yeah, and I think also they will have signed some kind of
NDA.
Yeah.
So if anyone does tell you, then it'd be interesting who's leaking what to who, or if they're lying.
We think that the team that finished bottom of Super League will go into the Championship, and the team that finished top of the Championship will go into Super League.
They'll go straight to the World Club Challenge.
It's funny though, isn't it, that all of the gradings, all of the comments, all of the criticism about it, we're going to get effectively promotion relegation.
Mike Eccles has been on TalkSport earlier this afternoon.
We listened to a bit of that, didn't we, before we came up here? He was, of all the clubs that have been the most harshly treated by the bringing in of grading, in that their season was effectively over before it begun, he has basically said, I can see the sense of grading.
Well, they were 24th, he said, didn't he?
Yes, but he reckons that they're going to get 50% more, which would take them up to about 13 points.
But then they'd lose some more next if they don't find a funder and this. But
he sounded positive because he said they expect to start the Championship season, and they were talking about they needed, what was it, £375,000 to do that. But I think there is some interest from potential investors.
Well, that would be good. I wonder whether they'll play next year. I think
Wimbledon is their agreed home, and I think it wouldn't surprise me, and I don't know if some of the people that are involved in Wimbledon might think of taking more of a stake in a summer sport that will bring them income throughout the year.
Well, they need it because the pitch got buggered up by the rain, didn't it? And then they had to crowdfund, which is very odd for a professional football club.
Did they, or did the fans start? It was the Hunslet medals all over again.
That was very.
Well, London have started a crowdfunding.
It's not going too good at the minute. It's only 6,000,
but that isn't something the club have asked for.
No,
it's the fans taking matters into their own hands.
Some strange circle being completed if a football club took over London Broncos.
I don't think they'll take them over.
Took a stake in London Broncos.
Yeah.
Where's Tony Khan when you need him? Come on, Tony. Bring him back to Fulham. You need the good publicity at that club at the minute. So we will find out on Wednesday.
Yes,
we don't know. We don't
10:30.
know anyone who tells you they know.
It's not under embargo. It's just not out there.
It's not like the fixtures or the man of Steel. Sky aren't going to announce it before at 9 o'clock on Wednesday.
No, my guess is the first you'll hear about it probably will be at 10:30 on Sky.
Yeah.
But as the press release is out, the first reaction you'll get will be.
Unless Cristiano Ronaldo.
Breaking news: Super League.
Yeah.
Wakefield promotion.
Yay! We cut now live to Bellevue, where 4 people are stood outside going, yeah. Well, at the time I was in that protest against our points deduction.
Was that outside Red Hall?
Outside Red Hall.
With a flag?
With 4 of us there, yeah. I think it was on Sky the week after. So if anyone at Sky can find that clip, it'd be great to see. Looking like an idiot. But there you go. I was young and naive. And I believed in justice and getting our points back for breaking the salary cap without playing players, which is quite impressive. But now the players do get paid, and wait for the finish top of the championship. They've won everything.
They've had a fantastic season, and I think the one thing we do need to mention is Max Jowitt, as we talked about him last week, and possibly going to be the first person in the history of the sport to score 500 points in the season. And if you just sit back and think about how hard it is to do that in the fewer number of games than historical figures that have gone before him, it's an astonishing achievement.
No Regal Trophy, no games against West Wales. He didn't play against Newcastle. I don't think he did anyway, because Mason Leno did all the kicking.
Points in a season.
It's incredible. And then he went off injured. So it's a good job he got them in the first half, isn't it? Although Jermaine McGillivray could have kicked it, because he's the world's greatest goal kicker now.
Yes, the last act on the field. He was the Paul Anderson-esque.
Yeah.
Just give me the ball on the touchline. Thank you very much. Good night.
500 points.
500 points is.
And again, it's one of those strange things where it's a record where you never would have thought about it until in the last few weeks.
No,
Because
I mean,
Trinity Heritage have been keeping tabs on it. And
again, I
whatever.
grew up in an era where there was only 3 television channels, clearly. So things like record books, we used to read them. You know, it was quite... So names got etched into how important they were in history because you never thought their records would ever be beaten. So, you know, the likes of Jim Sullivan, you got to know them because, you know, Brian Bevan and Neil Fox, because their feats, whether you supported the team or not, were never going to be surpassed. And the one that remains that wasn't in well, obviously Bevan's will and will forever, but the one that you thought again sits alongside those that will never be beaten was Lewis Jones's just short of 500 points in the season. And to see that go this weekend is a massive testament to Max Jowitt.
What about Great Britain caps? See, now that's been buggered up, hasn't it? Because there are players with golden caps who played for England. So Adrian Morley's got one, hasn't he?
Yes. James Graham.
There you go. Professional wrestling's James Graham and Adrian Morley from professional wrestling against the Australians that time. But yeah, so amazing achievement. And I do tend to think people slag off the achievement because they just slag off everything that happens these days.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's a mark and measure of consistency that is, well, it's the best of its kind.
Someone may come along and break it one day.
He may even get in the Hall of Fame one day.
Yeah.
7 more inductions tomorrow in the Hall of Fame.
You think he'd end up possibly end up in Wakefields eventually?
Yeah.
I think Matiasios will, because I think if you look at people who are already in there, he's achieved more than some of them. And he's
What's
the kind of player.
What's the criteria at Wakefield? Do you have to be retired for 5 years?
I don't know. But it could be like Wigan and just break it just for the fun of it.
Well, we've got 4 men, 2 women and a team going into the RFL Hall of Fame tomorrow evening in Wigan.
This was something I was... did I bring this up a few weeks ago about... I haven't. Right, so I'll bring it up in a minute. We should make more of the Hall of Fame than we do, don't we? There's no TV coverage of it. There's no... I don't... excuse me. Not that it's something you could necessarily live stream or whatever like the awards, but is there going to be a video afterwards of here's all the people making their speeches? Is there? I don't know. There should be. There should be. Because it is the pinnacle of the... You can't get higher than being in the Hall of Fame unless you're Australian and you've got the Immortals. But in Britain, you can't get higher than being inducted in.
And whilst I do think there is an expense attached to having a formal dinner, I still think that's better than, oh, come along because at the end of this game we're going to induct someone into the Hall of Fame, or it has been decided that so-and-so is now in the Hall of Fame. You go, right.
Well, it should be a premium event, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
It is a... And I know...
And I think it will be prestigious tomorrow night, but we don't do it annually, do we? It's not like the Dally M's.
Very ad hoc.
And all of a sudden we've gone from nothing for 2 or 3 years to now having 7. And you're like, it's a dinner. It's great to celebrate these people, but do we do it regularly enough to make it as prestigious as it needs to be?
Then you get the question, and I know at Leeds you do it differently, where you induct people from each era, don't you? So you've got
so we can tell the story.
There'll be people who go in tomorrow. So, well, why aren't they in already? Because they retired 700 years ago or whatever. So it's
there
that
are
strange
2
kind of
historical figures and 2 modern day figures in the men's. Obviously, the women's game, they're going to be modern day figures.
Well, modern and historical at the same time.
And the team, which again, it's an interesting debate about putting a team in, about how you can compare eras and what constitutes a great team, a legacy team, if you like. But again, that's a women's team. It's not secret. They've put it out. We're not breaking any confidences. But it's the women's 1996 World Cup winning team that went to Australia and paid their own fare and never quite got the recognition they deserve. So, you know, it's a great story. But how would you compare that to Doddersfield? Team of all talents from before the
that won all 4 cups before all 4 cups was them 4. These 4 cups.
Yeah. So.
But this is I think now isn't it? Is now you've opened the floodgates. So who's the next team to go? Do you just induct 1 team at a time or 2 or whatever? And what makes what's the specific thing? Well, is it a season? Is it like Leeds where it was a decade?
It's interesting because having been party to some of these discussions, for which I'm extremely grateful to have been asked. The first team to be discussed was that great Wigan team of the late 80s to the mid 90s. And the issue then became it's not a team. Because if they were constantly buying players who were the best and getting the best out of them. But at what point was that a team? It was a club that had a huge amount of success. But which year would you might say, well, 1994, because that was the year they went to Brisbane and won the World Club Challenge, and that team also won the championship and the Challenge Cup. But it's very hard to inaugurate a team when personnel change. A touring team is different. You pick your, however many it is, 22, 24 players, and they are the ones that constitute that team for that 6 weeks where they go on tour, and they come back and win the World Cup. It's hard to argue that they're not worthy of a team that gets inducted into Hall of Fame.
So you'd assume at some point the 72 World Cup winning squad would go in, or the 50, whatever it was.
Again, discussed briefly.
Yeah.
Part of the issue with some of the World Cup squads is the World Cup wasn't the event that it.
Well, yeah.
You go on an Ashes tour, you come back. It's like 1954 is a classic example. The first ever World Cup won by Great Britain in France.
Yeah.
An amazing achievement. But not all the players who were great players at the time made themselves available for this new concept called the World Cup. So does that in some way devalue the achievement? Probably not. The players that played in it deserve to be feted. So I think there'll be some great debate. It's just whether teams should be admitted into Hall of Fames or not.
I think there's a good argument for it.
I think again it makes us innovative because nobody else does that.
Wigan 94's got Craig Murdoch in, because that's what I was just checking there. So
Right.
we like Craig Murdoch, so we put him in.
Yeah.
I was looking at 95, but that's when they didn't win the Challenge Cup, was it? So Nigel Wright's in that one, so again,
But
can't
it's
fiddle it that
difficult,
much.
isn't it, to say
what's peak Leeds? What is peak Leeds in this last 20 years then?
Well, again, is it a team that comes from fifth, or are we saying that achievement is slightly less than a team that was League Leader Shield winners because they had that level of consistency throughout an entire year? Or is it the brilliant ability to peak at the end of the season when you haven't been the best team? So
like 2017, where everything somehow felt...
Or is it 2009 where they've won it 3 years on the trot? Or is it 2015 when they win the treble? Probably 2015.
Stop me if I've said this before, because I can't remember if I have or not. In the UFC Hall of Fame, they induct matches. So an actual match between two fighters. So if we had a Hall of Fame,
so the Challenge Cup final in 1985 between Hull and Wigan,
that would be a Hall of Fame level.
That's a game that from minute 1 to minute 80, this was the best of rugby league.
Yeah, if it was a film, it would get 5 stars, 7 in the Tokyo Dome. But say St Helens, Bradford, Wide to West is not in the Hall of Fame because that's a game where it's 17 seconds at the end. Yeah.
So what about the water splash final?
Well, that should be.
See, it wasn't a great game,
but it's iconic.
It's the game.
It is actually iconic. Yeah. It actually is. It actually lives up to that phrase. If anybody is
going to tell the story of rugby league, there is a clip of that game going to be in there.
So, games. What would you put in
Rorke's Drift Test.
Yeah. So, pick some games we've never heard of, like Trafford Borough versus Chorley Borough in the Lancashire Cup, because that's got to be that's an iconic fixture. That's got to be in there. Doncaster versus Scarborough Pirates.
The highest scoring draw is Leeds and Sheffield. It was 46-all.
So is that going in there as well?
Well, again, you just depends what you like.
Just putting everything in there now. The Hall of Fame's going to be full of random fixtures. Wakefield Huddersfield 0-0 in the Challenge Cup final in 68, semi-final in 68, which if only they'd lost.
I think the issue with the 72 World Cup team is not that they are absolutely deserving on merit of their deeds being lionised, but the game that they won the cup, they actually drew 10-all. So they won it on count back.
Does that game go in?
Again, does that team go in, or
was that game any good? I know it's been repeated since, but everyone remembers Clive Sullivan's try. Obviously.
And Mike Sullivan's try.
So now do we? I said now we go. So we've got games in. We've got teams. Tries. So Clive Sullivan's try has to go in. Jonathan Davis's try. Yeah. And Rob Burrows in the grand final.
Martin Afire, who ended up on a statue because of a try.
We just have a Hall of Fame full of stuff. Well, we don't actually have a Hall of Fame, so we can do whatever.
Well, that's the next thing. We do need a physical manifestation, which I think they're going to put initially at the Etihad, because they've got space to do that. And should there ever be a museum, there would be a... portion of it devoted
Can
to.
we just steal a bit of the National Football Museum? Because we are, we are cousins. I mean, we don't want to be.
But for us,
Yeah, we don't want to
wouldn't be them.
We don't want to be at the other one at Twickenham. We don't want to be in that museum. We don't want to be a bit there. But the National Football Museum, that's us. We're cousins. World Cup semi, England versus New Zealand.
Oh, amazing.
1995, Australia, New Zealand at the McAlpine, the extra time one.
Yeah, that was sensational. Sensational.
But
That
they're
was one of
foreigners. They're foreigners. Are they allowed in?
Were you there?
No. I was watching on.
That was you got some hard bitten press guys in that box in 1995. There was some jaws on the floor.
I was 14, so I would have
Yes,
been in the
I
press
know.
box, but they wouldn't have let me in.
I forget.
But
Well, not
I
in the
know.
scarf.
no. I mean, Great Britain shirt with British call on it. Getting thrown out. Czechs bounce back from UK thumping with win against Poland, says Tim. Good job Darryl Powell doesn't coach them, or he would be mourning the busy October period. Well, I don't think he was mourning on Saturday. I assume he wasn't. I mean, I wasn't there, so I missed all the drama. Phil says this is games to be in the Hall of Fame. Salford 6, Bramley 6 in the Challenge Cup. A David Watkins drop goal saved us. So this is the alternative.
All need to be nominated.
Alternative Hall of Fame.
We'll take it to the RFL,
Yeah.
saying the logical extension of a team is a game.
Yeah.
Here's what our
And now
listeners
here's a
think.
try. Yeah. But see, if you had
A goal kick.
Yeah. Oh no.
Was it Martin Hodgson kicked a 70-metre penalty?
Now we're going to
once?
end up with Joe Lydon's drop goal in there, aren't we? Try assist Hall of Fame, Nathan Collins from last week. So Hall of Fame's for everything. Everyone's in the Hall of Fame. Podcast podcast Hall of Fame. But then why isn't there a coaches Hall of Fame? Should they? Roy Francis, obviously has had a major impact on coaching, both here and in Australia, be recognised. And I know. I don't think it would dilute the Hall of Fame to have coaches in there in the way that he said before they're out of the Hall of Fame, so stick broadcasters and whatever.
The Aussies are starting to do that, aren't they? With the Dally M Awards, they're now putting in broadcasters and coaches. Well, broadcasters. Yeah. Well, Rugby League does have a roll of honour where some of these people are recognised. It's on a board in the Etihad.
So I just
administrators.
But this is all just celebrating history, isn't it?
Yes.
This is all ways of celebrating history.
Which
the
is
Hall
important.
of Fame is that.
And it leads back to Max Jowitt and his achievement that he created history that he did something that nobody in nearly 130 years has ever done on either side of the world. Scored 500 points in a season.
We've got 4 Test matches coming up over the next couple of weeks in this country. So there's no one wheelchair Hall of Fame in the Hall of Fame yet, but there will be in the future. I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, it was discussed.
So
but nobody's ready yet.
So that's something for the future. We may speak to one of them later this week. But in terms of the living men and women who are being inducted, I'm assuming they'll be at the Test matches over the next few weeks. So they'll wave to the crowd and
You'd hope so.
we say
You'd
these are people in the Hall of Fame because people don't. We need to know.
Well, one of them may well be working for the BBC.
Well, there you go.
Mr. J. Peacock.
Yeah. Not Robbie Paul. He's not in the Hall of Fame yet. It's probably in Bradford's, I assume. But
You'd think so.
do they have one separated in each era of when the club existed? Are Hunslet the same Hunslet who... They're not, are they? They're not. They're not. They're not. Old Hunslet and new Hunslet.
The Greyhound Stadium with American football posts.
They're in the Hall of Fame. The American football... The flashy post from Old Trafford. If we just spin it really fast...
And Wigan.
Yeah, they're in the Hall of Fame. What else could we put in an alternative Rugby League Hall of Fame? Yeah, so Central Park, all the
Yeah.
But you didn't just end up with every ground. Tattersfield's in there, right?
Yeah.
No, hang on. The McCain Stadium. Well, half that's at Scarborough now. Half that's at Featherstone now. Featherstone a Hall of Fame ground now. Stadium of Chips. I don't know. It's. I like it when we talk about history because it's things we can all reminisce and go, all these things were great and now all the things.
But also,
are
I think you need a context. So Max Jowitt's achievement needs to be put into context. The context is he's done something that has never been done in the history of the game. It's not, sometimes the whole thing about Ryan Hall's the leading try scorer in the Super League era ago. Yep, great achievement, but he's still about 600 behind the guy who's actually.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Liam Marshall, brilliant this year. Was it 29 tries in 29 games? That is phenomenal. Not quite Albert Rosenfeld getting 80 in a season. Yeah, so
How do you score 80 tries in this? Hey, when people are saying, oh, it's easier for Max Jowitt to score 500 points because they're playing against plumbers and electricians. What's wrong with being a plumber or electrician, by the way?
nothing.
Better than being a broadcaster. But who did score 80 tries against? West Wales? What? Was everyone rubbish in the old? Well, they were, weren't they? Because as we know, old rugby league was rubbish, and today's rugby league is the best rugby league because everything evolves.
Which is why
tries?
history is so important.
80 tries.
Yeah, 80 tries in one season.
Ian says, might it make sense for a club to have the Hall of Fame at their ground so there's a physical player support that from all teams can visit at least once a season if they're in the same division?
Yeah,
Well,
which again comes down to, do you own your own ground?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Do you do it merely visually, or do you do it? You know, the best thing is if you have an area that you can devote to players like that, but you also need to have, because we live in an era where it's different. You need to have a visual, a digital representation of it as well, or a 3D representation, or something on your club's website. You know, so it's not just you need to put a portrait of somebody that nobody knows. I think you need to make it a bit more interactive these days.
I think the portrait of Neil Fox that was in the pub in Alton, what was it called? The Gardener's Arms or something?
That's going to annoy me.
It's not the Gardener's Arms.
No.
That's in Robin Hood. But at that pub, I think that's at Bellevue now. I've seen it. I've seen it on the wall. So they all must be around somewhere. I don't know where they are. But there's the Yorkshire Cricket Museum at Headingley. I popped into that once.
But again,
it's only for, it's not.
And it needs to be integrated into a proper stadium tour, so that people that come from Australia, New Zealand, as well as St Helens and Wigan, can say, I'm going to get there 4 hours early because I want to do the combined stadium tour, because it's the only venue in the world where there are two test grounds next to each other. So yeah, it all needs to be. And
a virtual Hall of Fame, as Ian says.
But virtual, I think, that's the word I was looking for.
Because I think it's just words on. It's not, to get JJB to read out some words about some people.
But I think you need to have some historical figure coming out of the portrait and telling you a bit about themselves and why.
Jonty Parkin in AI telling us why he bought himself out of a contract.
But isn't that what we need to do these days to appeal to the widest possible audience?
Les says, isn't the context, and it was a full-time team in a part-time league. Wigan in the late 80s, early 90s, before Leeds went professional. That went well, didn't it? But when Martin Offiah scored those 10 tries, were Leeds fully professional at that point, or were some of them?
I think they were near enough full professional.
So that was a proper achievement, wasn't it?
And Widners again went professional at the time.
So.
No, I still think
it's just a number. It's just,
if you look at the number of games that Jowitt played and the number of points he scored across those games, it stands the test of time. Hull still had an unbeaten season in Division 2.
Yeah.
But nobody said, "Oh, well, we'll take that achievement away from you because you were the best team in that division." Yeah.
Carson says we need a virtual Hall of Fame so we can hack it and put me in as a famous prop. Played on the wing. Get out of the way of the ball. In my long, illustrious career. Paul says you cannot measure old-time wingers with modern ones, as the job they do has changed so much. Yes. Phil knows that. John Atkinson never ran the ball out of defence as part of his job, for instance. And, of course, the corner flag rule has changed. Which would have,
absolutely.
How many tries would Billy Boston have scored then?
Well, Brian Bevan 1,500 tries. But also the point is absolutely valid, because in those days wingers only had one job, and that was to finish. So for 20 minutes the forwards beat the crap out of each other, and the job of the halfbacks was to get the ball to the guys on the outside that were quick, and they didn't have to do anything other than catch it and run as fast as they could, occasionally swerve or sidestep. So it was very, very defined what you did. You weren't expected to make meters off your own line, but it doesn't detract from the fact that in the era in which you play, you can only be the best of what you do.
Fred Webster scored loads of tries, didn't he? He was a prop.
Yes.
He scored
eight in a game against Coventry. Still a record.
Well, commentary good then, or whether
No, not particularly. It wasn't,
So-
wasn't
so-
long after
so-
that
so
that
is
they
there-
stopped.
is there an asterisk after that
it's
saying
an
this-
asterisk
this
that
doesn't
says,
count?
Played against a crap team, therefore does not count.
So the world record score of 100 and whatever it was against
Yeah.
West Wales should be scratched
Yeah,
off. So
they
rubbish.
weren't very good, therefore.
8 tries for a prop. Was it still 15 aside then, or was that after?
No,
I'm asking you as if you
it
know
was,
everything.
it was 13 aside, and it's the only game in history where every player scored.
What's the final? And this is
102 0.
100, and that's 3 points for a try. So
Yep.
Fred Webster's in the Leeds Hall of Fame. He's not in the.
He is in the Leeds.
Yeah, I need to put. There's an article about him in a program I posted from 1911. I'll post that back up over the weekend. Over the week around.
Came from Brotherton. How did we get onto that?
Because we were talking about stupid
No,
things
it's
that happened
fine.
in the
It's
past,
great.
which is great, because it is that time of season.
We've nothing to talk about. The season's finished, and here we are.
Paul says Leeds 102-0. That answers the question. The Pacific Cup's good.
We're,
Australia Tonga was good.
the great thing, I think, to come out of this weekend is Peter Volandi's statement, and we all know that he's in charge of the sport.
It's not IMG or Tony Sutton.
No, it's the man with the money, and that's the NRL, and he's in charge of the NRL, and it's his drive and leadership that is moving the dial, I believe, is one of the modern expressions. And he came out this weekend and said we need to do more for international rugby league. That's a long time since the Aussies have been in the vanguard, followed by Mal Meninga saying we need to take the Kangaroos brand to Asia and Africa. This is all stuff we haven't heard for a very long time. But I genuinely think that people like this mean it. And I thought the Australia-Tonga men's game to kick off the Pacific Championship was superb. It showed you that the gap between leading nations is, again, fine margins. That, yes, Dearden scored a try, what was it, minute and a half from time, that blew it out to 18-0. But 12-0 was a fair sort of reflection of the game. And the difference was that twice Tonga kicked out on the full, gave away 7 tackle sets, and Australia scored on the back of both of them. It's, we are into that kind of difference between the top teams at the moment, which is fantastic. It makes international rugby league a saleable product. I am looking forward to the Samoa game, because now that they've named their team, you're going, I want to go and see Jerome Luai lead. It clearly means something to these guys after the seasons that they've had to be donning their shirt of either heritage or birth, and their relatively evenly matched squads. This is what we want to go and see.
There's a couple of Gillaroos now who are declaring for the other nations as well, which is also important, because obviously the Gillaroos beat PNG 84-0, which is not a surprise because they're Australia, and they've got all
as near to
most
full
of the
time
best women's players in the world.
And obviously that's interesting from our point of view, because the Gillaroos are going to be playing England in Las Vegas. So
just to make
when
sure,
we're talking about benchmark setting, we need to watch that game and go, you're going to have to be the best you've ever been, probably to only lose by 40 points.
I know if you want to book an important venue, you need to do it in advance. So make sure none of the England squad are booking weddings in, unless it's in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Unless it's in Las Vegas. Imagine if any of the players got married to each other in Las Vegas. Because that could happen.
It could happen.
That could happen. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
You can do that in that part. It's a great story.
That'd be great publicity.
Yes.
Yeah, some parts of America, no, but that part of America, yes. Anyway, Tonga 16, Samoa 30 in the Women's Pacific Bowl, which I watched a bit of. Big numbers on the back of shirt.
Yeah.
Big fan of that.
Looked like elastoplast, didn't it?
Can't read our numbers, but those I could read. Brilliant.
And that means that
physical.
Samoa will play the winners of Fiji and the Cook Islands, who play this weekend, and that is to determine who plays in the World Cup and who goes into the World Series.
Of the cookies. And it's France
against Ukraine, Serbia, Wales tomorrow, which I believe will be live streamed. I think it'll be possibly on the European Rugby League YouTube, Facebook page. But watch social media in the morning, because I think the details of that. I think does it kick off about I think it's 5:30 and 7 o'clock CET.
We'll retweet it anyway.
But yeah, watch out for the details, because they're going to be worth.
Got to beware of fake people on the internet, because on my phone this morning, it said Helen Skelton follows me on TikTok, but it's not Helen Skelton. It's not real Helen Skelton. It's like a fake one.
She's on every other advert.
I know. I could have checked with Danica. She would have known, but no, it wasn't the real one. Fiji 10, Papua New Guinea 22 in the Pacific Bowl.
Good game. It was a good game.
Which we spoke about earlier, didn't we?
And the great thing about that game's played in Fiji. So
Yeah.
again, the Pacific Championship is spreading through. So I think there were 8,000 for the men's game in Suva. That is real progress.
England announced their women's squad tomorrow.
Yes.
Which would be interesting to see who's in it and who isn't because of a wedding next week. I mean, hopefully Holly Mae Dodd's in the squad, but she might be at the wedding. I don't know if so.
Has she come over for the wedding or to be in the squad?
Yeah, so, because where's she going to be next year? We don't know. So we need.
Well, is she still with Canberra? I mean, we know that.
George Ritchie's got the massively long contract with the Knights. But
we know that Fran Goldthorpe is now back playing rugby union and won't be going back to the NRLW. But is Holly Mae Dodd still contracted to Canberra?
And is anyone else going back?
And if not, she'd be a great pickup for any of the teams here.
You'd assume she'd go back to York, wouldn't you?
I think there's a team that's lost a few players this week that who've retired.
Not Warrington.
Not Warrington. Who would be very, very keen on somebody like Holly Mae Dodd.
Did we mention Hannah Butcher last week? I think we did, haven't we? I think we have mentioned her.
Yes.
She's retired. We think.
Well, her latest retirement.
Yeah.
But we think this will be a retirement.
So much excitement going on in the world of rugby. It's interesting how St Helens do next year, and because you'd expect them to be pretty much unchanged in terms of the way they play, because they've played under those coaches before. But losing Faye Gaskin, losing Tara Jones, losing Leah Burke for however long she's out for injury.
That's a real. You just fight your way back from an ACL and it goes.
The other one
goes again.
So
but there are examples of people who've been through a number of ACLs that still get back to the top of the profession.
England-France on Saturday lunchtime on the telly. Is it on BBC One? I don't know.
BBC Red Button.
On Red Button.
On the Saturday for the wheelchair. Yeah.
That's disappointing because there'd be sod all on the BBC.
Yeah, there's a film from 1950. I think.
And I'm not blaming. I always have to preface this with saying I'm not blaming the people at BBC Sport or BBC who cover the Rugby League, but
yeah, the wheelchair.
Saturday afternoon.
Red Button, 2:30.
Saturday afternoon is so much crap on the BBC.
Do watch it because
it should be because
it's a genuine rivalry. France have got a new coaching structure. I think they're going to play more rugby and be slightly less overtly physical. Because Cyril Torres, who's taken over, has been the coach before, and talking to some of the England players, they think that will make them a different challenge to what they were certainly in the World Cup and a little bit when they came over last year. So that'll be good. And a new name, Mason Billington, in the England team. So congratulations to him. Only been playing, I think, a couple of years.
Always good to see.
No Wayne Boardman. England. He's probably the guy whose international career is probably coming to an end.
Tom Clyde watches this programme, so more fool him. What's our advice to him? Because they've got too many players to fit in the middle, but how do you fit them all in?
Well, the good thing is, although it hasn't been confirmed yet, I believe it is confirmed that they will be going and playing 2 games in France. One against Spain, where some of the what might be termed fringe players will get proper game time, and a return match in France against France. So this becomes in effect a 2-test series like last year, where you remember they lost at Leeds at the
lost the trophy and then won it back.
Was it 3-4 weeks later in Marseille?
That was good, that wasn't it? Because apart from Rob Hawkins nearly having his head taken off, hopefully that happens.
He'll play.
Yeah, he'll play. Hopefully that doesn't happen again on Saturday. If you can't get to Wigan, as you say, it's on the Red Button. But if you can get to Wigan, go.
Robin Park.
Yeah,
good atmosphere.
I've never been there before, so
it'd be a good atmosphere. And then before that, if you get there early, if you do decide to go, there's some specially arranged challenge matches between junior wheelchair and we've never had that before, and women's wheelchair matches. And again, it's just part of the development of wheelchair sport. So if you are a woman and you want to play in a woman environment to decide if you're ready to take that step up to sort of Super League. You can have a go. I think Freya Levy's going to be there leading that, which is we like Freya.
Well, we'll try and get a chat with her on Saturday. Unless she's
flying back from the Ice Hockey World Cup, which she's playing in Norway.
I wonder if like old time wheelchair players say. Oh, that was against one we played on in car
We were,
parks.
yeah. We had to blow country.
Yeah.
That were proper
Different in the
wheelchair.
old, proper wheelchair
rugby.
rugby. With mud. And,
Yeah, don't start saying you broke the scoring record until you've tried to do it from
uncovered pictures.
Yeah.
No kicking tees.
And only the lights of the overhead lights, right? No floodlights. So.
Street wheelchair
Street
rugby
lighting,
league.
yeah.
Street wheelchair rugby league.
Yeah.
It's the future. This.
Well, it's actually the past.
Well, no, but we could sell this as an idea. It's like urban and gritty. We can sell it to Channel 4.
You actually see
get the
them
coins on the phone.
skimming their knees.
Yeah, get Channel 4 on the phone. They love that kind of thing. Gritty urban street wheelchair rugby league. It's coming soon.
In the dark.
In the dark to Channel 4.
Wearing lights on your head.
Yeah, some kind of like miners.
Yeah.
They have to wear helmets like miners.
Yeah.
See where this is going now. It's the end of the season.
Patented.
And then on Sunday in Wigan, it's England versus Samoa.
Yeah.
Revenge.
Which is on the BBC main channel.
I hope someone asks, because I'm not going to be there. You're not going to be there at the press conference tomorrow, isn't it? Ahead of the. So I hope one of the good members of the great British rugby league media asks Sean Wayne, England coach, "Is this revenge, Sean?" And he'll say no, because that's what it's been. The marketing is revenge. We're going to get them.
The first interview with the Samoan coach said, "No, we're not seeing it like that.
No, we're not bothered." No. John's done a long piece with John Davidson, who I fear now, where we used to be the outsiders in the rugby league media. People would say, oh, you people get a bad reputation because they hang around with you, because they did, and now I think we get a bad reputation because we hang around with John. But there's nothing we can do about it.
No, we're tarnished.
Yeah, we're tarnished. But it's going to be, as you say, great chance to see some great players we don't get to see over here often.
Mm-hmm.
As with all these things. Phil's asked us, do we know what the ticket sales like now? But Wigan, apparently, if you buy a Wigan season ticket...
Encouraging.
Buy a Wigan season ticket, you get a ticket for the game on Sunday, so that's good. So go buy a Wigan season ticket, everybody.
I'm told that the RFL are encouraged by the ticket sales.
Well, I went to buy one this morning for Leeds for my nephew who wants to go watch the England-Samoa game. I don't think he wants to watch the women, but I'm going to make him watch them, because otherwise...
Well, you get two for the price.
Yeah, otherwise you can't, you can go sit in the back of the stand and watch something, but I'm going to make him watch it. And there weren't many seats left, so he can stand up, he's 14, he'll be all right. But yeah, so the seats going, and that's in the expensive bit, isn't it? The sound stand, where we sit, in the very posh media seats, so...
Padded.
Yeah. It's better than Old Trafford. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I mean, the problem with ticket sales is everyone just moans about them regardless. So
and we're getting
hopefully it's a big crowd.
We're also getting to the time of the season where the weather is less predictable, and it only needs a storm on the day for the walk up to not be what you would want it to be. But
season tickets have started going on sale. So
kits.
5
new kits have been announced.
That's just at Leeds. Whatever else will be going on.
Well, the big thing's going to be grading, isn't it? Because that sort of is the end of the domestic season, where teams know where they're playing next year. There will be some fallout of that, you would think. Some teams will go public and say, it's a disgrace, we thought we had 3 more points.
So Gull won't be graded at all, will they? Because they
have nothing they can be graded on. They have been told that when they come in, they are the lowest ranked team, which they accept.
And you would expect Newcastle would probably be just above them.
Cornwall.
Forget about Cornwall.
But what will be interesting purely as an observer is, will Swinton be above Hunslet?
Just causing mischief.
Because I think Oldham are moving in a certain direction with their new ownership and their promotion.
And new players that they haven't announced yet.
So I think they are starting to look at the broader picture. It wasn't just about. It was trying to get out of League One in while there's a period of time where you can do that. But I think as a club they've embraced the idea that you've got to be more than just 13 good players on the field. But the interesting one for me will be Hunslet and Swinton, because I get you want to even up the numbers in the division, but shouldn't you do that on the principle of grade?
More than a club. I mean,
and if Hunslet have got more points than Swinton, absolutely fine.
The concern for me is the number of, and it's not a big number, but clubs who've already come out and said we're going to get this number of points, and if they don't get that number of points on Wednesday, then where do we go from there? Because people are either going to believe another club owner or the IMG people, and they don't like the IMG people because they're foreign and new.
I think that it will become more and more self-explanatory as the years go on, and you will see exactly where your club sits, and it won't be necessarily your club telling you just as season tickets are going on sale that they're better than they think they are. You will be able to begin to measure your own club and what it's doing and what the facilities it has, and once we're more familiar, there'll be some fine-tuning along the way of what the actual grading points are given out for, because it has to change. You can't keep it the same all the time because the game.
Because everyone will eventually have LED boards or whatever.
Well, and
that's the
if
thing
if we can get to 12, 14, 16 Grade A clubs, that is actually what IMG did say they wanted when they instituted it. Of course, there'll be some teething troubles, but it will be Wednesday will be an interesting day and the end of the domestic season.
Then training. Friendlies at Christmas.
Yeah.
Hybrid
game.
Hybrid game. Looking forward to
more
that.
new kits.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm looking forward to Wednesday or not. Not for any particular personal reason, whether my team's in Super League or not, because I'm not that bothered anymore. But just in terms of the amount of people who just are going to kick off regardless when they don't understand what they're kicking off about.
What we do know is that social media will be a shit fight.
Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
I
think that's formally a phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope Frank Slavin stands up on Wednesday and says that on Sky. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
What we've tried to avoid is a...
Hello, Hull KR. What if they get them mixed up? It's difficult. It's difficult. Is that it? I think that might be it, might it? I don't think. I think we've covered everything. Other than I was going to say earlier, Matty Ashurst, if he'd have played for any other club, might have played for England.
Yeah.
But he might not have done either because he was obviously in the.
Again, he's one of those players that is an absolutely essential club player. A bit like Dean Hadley's been playing this year for Hull KR.
I tell you, I was going to compare him to Carl Ablett.
Yeah.
Leeds would not have won all those things without players like him in the squad doing all the work.
Yeah. But was never going to be a first choice in He was going to be drafted into the odd squad. He was going to do you a job that you knew you could rely on. But if everybody's fit, but you need players like him. Every club has to have.
And at his new club, when it's announced, he'll do that job.
He will do that job.
So whenever they announce, I don't know when that will be.
Well,
now the season's finished, I thought everything would be, out
well,
in the open.
Again, some might be to time with season ticket sales. Some might be to just let's make sure we know where we are on Wednesday, and then by the way, good news, we're in and we've signed.
We didn't mention Women's Origin because we haven't seen it. They didn't broadcast that, did they? So again,
they just said turn up at Boundary Park.
Yeah, and it's free. Now they've relaunched the England YouTube channel, which I better subscribe to. They could have put it on there or whatever.
Well, they should. They're going to need content.
If Wales did the Jamaica game with, they didn't have a commentator, but they had a camera and it was
fine.
raining.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had sponsors on it, so they must have got some money in from somewhere.
And Wales won.
So you can stream and 20,000 people or whatever were the peak viewing for the sportsman coverage of Wakefield Toulouse on Saturday.
Good, isn't it?
It's great, and of course it's free. 7,000 people have watched on Facebook the video of the interview I did with Matt Ellis last week because it's free. Now, still firmly believe that if we broadcast games on YouTube for free, it's a better deal than taking £5 from Premier because anyone can watch it. My mum was watching it on YouTube. She had the internet.
But I also think that you do get commercial buy-in because if somebody says there's 7,000 people watching that, I really need Ovaltine at the top of that.
You can put why does the Sportsman exist? To promote Betfred. My mum was very amused because she had the YouTube chat on because I'd not told her how to turn it off. So she was getting very annoyed by people just trolling, basically. But she did enjoy the people from France writing in French because she can speak French because she's intelligent. Where my brains are from, not my mother. But that's it, isn't it? That's it. That is the end of the programme. She won't like it because I mentioned her. She don't like the internet. But
I think we've done quite well.
Yeah.
An hour.
So now we're nothing.
Nothing.
Wakefield won because it's been a Wakefield celebration. Yes, Scan says the French put games on it all the time for free on YouTube.
Absolutely.
It's a great tool because it's there and it's open to everyone, and you might get advertisers on it, both your own.
I think you would. I think all you need to do is prove to people there's the same market that if you've got a product that appeals to that market, it's contained there. There's 10,000 of them. You want to sell your Dacia car? Whatever happened to them? Your Ron Seal fence paint?
Yeah.
Because they're the kind of people we're trying to get to.
Because it's free. And people watch stuff that's free.
Bernie's Inns or whatever.
Good people at Bernie Inns. They're not. Them and Viking Radio. Not going anywhere.
Little Chef. They're the kind of people that we appeal to.
Welcome to 4020 Live, brought to you by Dragon 32 Computers. It's the future. Bet Phil, Mr. Leeds, would have a different opinion if Maguire had been given the Leeds job after Rowan Smith was sacked. Would you?
I haven't given an opinion.
I don't know what your opinion
I think Danny might be absolutely perfect for
we were just
saying it was a bit of a surprise that Craig Lingard had done everything asked of him and was relieved of his duties. I would wish Danny nothing but success. He's somebody I admire immensely.
Nick says, what happened to the games in our league? We've been asking that question for about 2 years, and the answer is we don't know. But YouTube and the internet is the future, but ours is now the past because we're going. But we'll be back with you next week. We'll be here is it Monday you're here or not here? Or is it the week after?
Week after.
Week after. But we'll also be back early in the week. Phil's opening the biscuits. Ronnie's here to say goodbye.
No, you can't have one.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. And if you're at Wigan, we might see you there, and there'll be a